Wolfanoz dropping a 64 gigabyte of his Raspberry Pi 4 image running on the Supreme build base image, the new and improved one that recently came out not too long ago. And Wolfanoz is a great image creator. He makes some great stuff. So I'll show you how to burn the image, write it to your Raspberry Pi 4, boot it up, and then explore what we got on here. But one of the common complaints I get is like these big, massive 20,000 game images. Is people are like, that's too much. You'll never be able to play that in your whole life. Why do you need that much? So hey, why don't you give this 64 gigabyte image a check out? But it's looking great and it's new, and the Raspberry Pi is, the emulation on that thing is pretty sweet, especially when you compare it to the 3. So here it is. Just go ahead and grab your 7-zip, extract it. You'll be left with this file right here. I went ahead and opened it in case you want to see the file size here. I put it on a SanDisk Ultra 64 gigabyte. It's actually already in my computer, or already out of my computer, but it fit no problem. And then just go ahead and eject, give it to the, or open, and give it to the disk image file. Make sure you have the SD card, format your SD card, and then hit write, or you can use Etcher as well. And then we're going to take it out of our computer and put it on a Raspberry Pi 4. This is a Raspberry Pi 4 image. So on first boot, it does ask you to put in your controls, which is great. So it's ready out of the box. It auto expanded the image. So if you are running it on a larger SD card, you can absolutely add your own games. This is running on the Supreme Teams base image for the Raspberry Pi 4, which is great. And I believe it also is on the latest version of retropie, so you don't have to update it. Very easy to do, but it should already be updated for you. Yep, 4.6. And a 64 gigabyte image, and for the common places you go for Raspberry Pi 4 images, there's really only one other image at 64 that's consoles and arcades, which is the Demeso image. That being said, Wolfanoz here is dropping us a nice 64 gigabyte image, and just over first kind of glimpse of all this, there's a lot of little things I really like about it. I like this theme, I like the base image, it's good, and I like the choices as far as what games to include and what games not to include. You really got to start thinking about what CD-based games you want to put on an image like this the minute that you have that kind of space restrictions. Now, it's still a ton of games. You're still going to get your video snaps, a huge arcade selection. Where you're going to see a little bit less is less Sega CD, less Dreamcast, less PlayStation. That's why I kind of want to call this image, as far as, and it's not him, it's it's the size. You just can't fit more than that. And so what I would call this is the scratch the itch image. Really nice basic image for a smaller SD card. And I understand why, because SD cards are fairly expensive. So this gives you a nice scratch the itch. It gives you the majority of the games, especially on the lower end consoles, and then it gives you kind of the best of with a lot of these CD-based games. So let's just go through the game sets really quick. But right off the bat, it has about 3 themes pre-installed on it. You can absolutely, or 2, the Carbon is the original, Greenalicious and City Lights. We're on City Lights right now. If you notice, there are a lot of collections over here, like Atari, Capcom, like he has it broken out. I like that the light gun is broken out, and that there's a trackball as well. For those of you wondering, you can get a trackball on the Raspberry Pi. There's a bunch online you can get, and then you have to go ahead and bind your keys, especially in the MAME emulator. And then with light guns as well, you can absolutely hook a light gun to a Raspberry Pi. I recommend the May Flash Dolphin Bar, and I've actually done quite a few videos on that now. Some games run a lot better than others, but I'm excited. I might make a separate video just checking out these light gun games. And he added Verse Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley. So if you missed that, those are really fun light gun games to play on the Raspberry Pi 4. And for those of you wondering, you can't use an old SNES or NES light gun because that technology, I actually just recently watched the 8-bit guy explain the light gun and the light pen, and he did a really great job. They just won't work on common LCD monitors, but you can get a Dolphin bar, which is similar to the Wii bar, and it will work. All those games in that in that collection there. So let's go ahead and go down till we start getting into all games. You have 6,000 games. You can add favorites very easily within Emulation Station. You also have last played here. So starting with A, you have arcade classics, over 2,000 arcade games. And this is where I have to give Wolfanoz a lot of credit, because a while back, like a year ago, 2 years ago, he went through the entire arcade set. He added a bunch of games, he optimized them, he got everything working really well. So a lot of people ask me what's the best arcade image, and I usually recommend them to a Wolfanoz image, especially the older ones if you're looking for arcade only. And now if you're looking for a small arcade image, this is another contender that's definitely worthy of checking out. I just want to check. Everyone always asks, does it have Killer Instinct? Yes. Yes, it does. So it looks like this is the same arcade set that he put on his 256 gigabyte image not too long ago. That being said, it doesn't run that well, but I mentioned this in another video. There was lots of requests for it, so it's there. Maybe if you overclock a lot, you might, it could get playable. Then you got your Ataris, 2600, 5200, and 7800. Around 800 games total. Daphne, this is again where you kind of got to limit it. Daphne games are a little larger, so Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, kind of the best known ones, but you can absolutely add some more. Dreamcast, 17 games, so we'll just go ahead and look into those really quick. And now Dreamcast is going to run great. No lag in Dreamcast. Quake 3 maybe a little bit, but all these other games are going to run just fine. Sega Genesis, 900 games. Yeah, so you have the Japanese Genesis in there as well. That's why 900 games. Nintendo 64, 60 games. So I could totally understand this, especially with a lot of Nintendo 64 games not running that great on the Raspberry Pi 4, especially stock clock. But as you see, a lot of the more popular ones. You got your Zeldas, your Turoks. Cool. Neo Geo, 141. Pretty standard stuff. Your Metal Slugs, King of Fighters, things like that. Nintendo 864. PC Engine, 285. Ports. So this is really just a shortcut to Steam Link, so you can stream Steam games, and Kodi. I recommend, the 4 gigabyte version or better of the Raspberry Pi 4 if you're going to be doing some of that. That's where you can take advantage of that extra RAM. PlayStation. So only 19 games. And I'm totally fine with this because the PlayStation had like 1,000 titles or more. So how are you ever going to please everyone? It's really hard. So some good games, a good variety of games there. So here's your options, and this is what I mentioned about the base image. It has everything from turning off your background music, setting up your controllers, changing your Dreamcast date and time, retropie tools, all kinds of things in here. Visual tools, so this is where you can turn on and off your bezels, download more themes, change your splash screen, change your everything. Sega 32X, 33, Sega CD, this again where there is more Sega CD games, but I'm totally fine with limiting it. SNES 785. I was just going to see if Famicom, Super Famicom was included in this. I don't think so. I think it might have its own collection or just not on there. TurboGrafx 1694, and now you have all your different collections. So these are just, Metroid is going to find the NES and the SNES game. Mortal Kombat's going to find all the arcade versions. Oh, I guess it doesn't grab the it didn't grab the PlayStation version or the other console versions. Sonic, so it has Mega Drive, 32X, should have Sega CD on here, yeah. And then you have some other, you have some other collections there. So without further ado, let's jump into the game, see what kind of bezels we're rocking, and see what kind of performance we get out of this. So let's do something a little harder. Dreamcast. I kind of want to see Quake 3. This is the one I think is going to lag a little bit on the stock clock right now. So this is running Redream, and something to note, I would probably run it on 4.3. Some people like to stretch it. Some people don't like it stretched. 4.3 Pretty good res there for the performance that you're gonna want. And then input over here, it sees my Xbox controller. That all looks good. That all looks good. I think that looks good. Let me just double check this really quick. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so mine was already set up just fine for Xbox 360 controller, but you might, want to play with that. The other thing is messing with these dead zones really helps, especially with racing games where the sensitivity is more, it's more sensitive. So you want to go ahead and get that updated. Okay, you can change games through the emulator itself or through the emulation station. Okay, so I need to reset this to get I think I might even have to restart the emulator or in 4.3. So you can see it's not taking up the whole screen now. Oh, these controls are awful. That's no fair, they spawn me right in front of them. Okay, it's actually running really good. Really, really good. I kind of want to just up the res one more time to 1080. Hey, I got my first frack. Hey. So you can see just a little bit of lag. Let's see if we can. It's actually running really good. This is good. Woo! Ring around the rosy. Got him. That was gnarly, but got him. All right, that's running good. Quick 3 arena. Let's grind. Okay, that's Ollie. Got him.
Okay, go. Let's jam.
Knows 64 gigabytes gets you a lot, and with the Raspberry Pi 4 emulating better than ever. You can even put this into desktop mode if you wanted to. You can do the Steam Link, you could do all sorts of things. And then Dreamcast and Nintendo 64 running better than ever. These things don't consume much power, you just leave them on. Arcade set is pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to checking out the Light Gun and the Trackball games in a separate video. But overall, really well done, well put together. You know, what could you add to it? Well, you can expand it. You can add more city-based games. You can add some hack games. You can add maybe a shortcut to the pixel. Change out, add more themes, add more videos. But that was something I really liked about this, was that the introduction video, the one I saw, I don't know if there's multiple, I have to check, but it was really cool. It was like a Ryu retro gaming arcade splash screen to start out the image, which was really cool. And then the loading screens now are not they're not just the stock loading screens. They added photos instead. They're not the loading videos. So a lot of that stuff out of the box is kind of set up for anybody. It wasn't necessarily catered towards the stock image or towards Wolfanoz, which I don't know. I just imagine people like that, but we'll see. But that's what I think overall. It was really well made, really well gone through. 2 thumbs up. That's what I think. Let me know what y'all think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.